So it's preparing for the live stream, and we'll be okay now. So give me my signal.
You know, it's odd too, though, when you play back the YouTube video that they interceded in.
Uh-huh.
There's no interruption.
What?
I
There's no
watched it this.
interruption. There's
I
no
watched it
interruption
this
on the
morning.
playback.
I watched it this morning.
Wow. Wow. But they interrupted it during the stream.
Right.
Yeah.
But even the part that was interrupted still was playing.
Wow. Isn't that something? Okay. That's good to know. And so now let me get back to Martin Luther. So my premise is that although they always come up with the word, even in their description of the opposition, they always say that they are opposing the Christian beliefs and faith. But that's not, it is what the Catholicism is presenting as their Christian beliefs, which they are not, because if it doesn't agree with the Bible, and each of the reformers were claiming, see, here's their claim: you are not teaching the gospels of Jesus Christ, and you're not teaching the New Testament of God, what was given to us by the apostles that you claim to support the traditions of the apostles, and yet you're calling Christianity, and nothing you do agrees with the Bible. Neither do you find evidence of it in the Bible. So they're claiming, and listen to how they say, that he was reformulating certain tenets of Christian belief. How do you attack something as something that is not what you claiming it to be? So I say, and this is just my opinion, you take that in a quarter and you still won't be able to pay for a cup of coffee at McDonald's, but it's my opinion. And my opinion is that each time those who attack the tenets and indulgences of Catholicism with the Bible, they weren't bringing up something new. They were actually awakening them to the facts that they were in error, and they were not practicing or the original beliefs of the first saints and the original Christians. That's my point. And so Luther was very powerful in that regard. And his treatise, if you ever get a chance, read his 95 treatise. A lot of good stuff in there. But here's something interesting, very interesting. I was privy to attend a church that would be considered Protestant. It's even a Pentecostal church. And I happened to attend and was a guest that Sunday, and they happened to be doing their communion. And this is something that I generally will find strange sometimes, in that when Protestants who are Protestants to the Roman Catholicism system, when they practice methods of Roman Catholicism in their worship gatherings, and seemingly to me turn them into rituals, rites, and ceremonies, but they call themselves Protestants. And this was one of the things too that was a negative regarding Luther that is not brought up a lot, but it is mentioned in his bio, and that is that Luther practiced some of the tenets of Catholicism even until his death in his 90s. And one of them was he was faithful to confession. Although he taught that there was no need to confess to a priest because you could go straight to God, but yet he continued the practice of confession. That seems to me a little bit of a controversy, somewhat of a conundrum for me, you know, but hey, let every man be persuaded in his own mind.
Yeah, and we do that now because, you know, even after we learn certain things, you know, it's hard for us to break from our traditional ways. So, you know,
Yeah. But, you know, he broke away in his late 20s. Almost 70 years later, he's still doing some of the practices. Although he spoke out vehemently, though, against their stand on salvation. He spoke out vehemently on their stand on the Eucharist and the priesthood. Um, I haven't seen much about his position, um, how he, you know, dealt with the issue of Mary, although he did not agree with their theology. And of course, the Assumption did not come into play until um, around the time of Luther's defection, is when the Assumption became a big part of the Catholic teaching. And so Luther was very, very influential, and you know, was the cause of the reform. Now that leads me to the individual I want to talk about, and that's William Tyndale. Now, Tyndale was influenced tremendously by Martin Luther. William Tyndale is credited, although, you know, after much history and research, he started getting the credit, but there were others who were taking credit for Tyndale's efforts and eventual translation and printing. Matter of fact, after his first initial printing and smuggling of Bibles for about 7 years into England, and he was betrayed by a so-called fellow believer. He was betrayed and set up to be arrested and held for over 500 days in solitary confinement, no light, no Bible, no book to read, and no one to talk to. And finally, after this period, they, you know, bring him out for his public execution and burned him at the stake. Now, they attempted to choke him to death first while tied to the stake. But when they lit the fire and the fire started blazing, he came out of his unconscious state. So apparently they weren't successful in choking him to death. He just passed out and they thought he was dead, but he woke up while the fire was blazing and was burned alive. As many of his personal friends were, because in the 10 years of his exile, they were looking for him. Morris, who was the attorney and also part of the court of the king, who personally was in charge of the punishment of heretics. He had all of the personal friends of Tyndale burned at the stake. And they would gather people and burn them in mass. And from the time of Wycliffe all the way through the time of Tyndale, they would catch preachers who would gather on the side of roads and hand out pamphlets of excerpts from the New Testament and would be teaching from them. And if they got caught by officials, they would be arrested and burned at the stake. Morris himself ended up suffering punishment, and I think he was beheaded because he got on the bad side of King Henry VIII. And Henry took care of him when he defected from. But see, as some people say, that was karma. He spent so much time persecuting Tyndale and hunting him down. He actually suffered before Tyndale. But after Tyndale's death, but I'm gonna go back because I want to cover some of it, but I'm just kind of telling the story. After Tyndale's death, the printers in Belgium, who he had finally gotten to print the New Testament, and they used to smuggle them into England in bigger books that were legal to print. and put the leaves of the New Testament in between the pages. They would smuggle them in that way. And once the books arrived, they would have people who the books would be delivered to, and they would pull the New Testament pages out from in between the pages of the legal books and rebind the New Testaments and distribute them. So that's how they would smuggle them in. Because all they would do is see the books wrapped and see that they were a legal book, and it would be a large book. But by the time they got through, the New Testament was printed on smaller pages, so they could have several pages in between pages of these large books, and they would get them, compile them, rebind them, and then distribute them. And when Tyndale was martyred, the printers put out a few runs of the book under their name and publishing house, but they neglected to eliminate the initials of the translator. So whenever they would get to that part of the book and it would show the translator, the initials WT would be found in the books, which, indicated that these were actually the translations of William Tyndale. Now, let me back up now. So Tyndale is a young college student, and he is introduced to Martin Luther. He visits him a few times because he is curious, being devout. Brother Otis is here. All right. Being devout and devoted to Roman Catholicism at the time. What's up, Brother Otis? Tyndale was curious to really, he was curious about producing Bibles in the native language of the people where the church had influence. And his idea was that if people have a Bible, this book that is so sacred and important, but can't read nor understand it because it's not in their native language, then, that's a stumbling block or a hindrance. Now, Martin Luther had created a translation in his native language, which was German. He was a German monk. Tyndale spoke English and Latin. He eventually learned German, Hebrew, and Greek, and Aramaic so that he could effectively translate the New Testament from the various writings of the scrolls and whatever language they were in that he could, discover, and translate that into what he called at that day plain English. That's like now we have Bibles, NIV, English Standard, New American Standard. Those are attempts to make the language a little bit less cumbersome, or as they would say, less difficult to understand, the language or dialect of the King James Version, and to a more modern version, which is the idea. But some of those translations, and I did a thing on that, oh man, it's been about 25, 30 years ago, where some of them actually changed the meaning because they changed the words. Now, if you take a word and leave it the same, and give it a better understanding for clarification, then people get the same gist of, of what the Bible is saying. But if you change the word in a sentence, you change the total context of the sentence and its meaning. All right, I just add that in. But so Tyndale, his objective was to produce Bibles in the native language of the Englanders, because Roman Catholicism had now gained such an influence that they even controlled the King of England. And the Church of England was under the control and direction of Rome, and specifically the papacy or the Pope. And so Tyndale, he began to teach that the Pope shouldn't be in charge of local churches, and especially of leaders of governments, and that the Bible taught that men are free, and that God had provided an avenue for men to directly communicate with God, and that the church was actually spiritual, which is the same thing that Wycliffe had contended, and Luther. And Tyndale says the church is a spiritual church, and the physical church should not be the power or influence. It should be the spiritual church established by Jesus at his death, and when he established the collection of the body of believers. And of course, Paul told us that Jesus would be the firstborn of many brethren. And this is what Tyndale was contending, and his point was that you shouldn't dictate or take rule over the people of God, because God has already made way. And he also said this: he had a problem with praying to saints, who they call saints, and he had a problem with praying to Mary. He had a problem with baptism being essential to salvation, as opposed to salvation being essential to baptism. And he had a problem with the Eucharist and their manner of communion. And all of this stemmed from him understanding the Bible. And part of his issue was that everybody didn't speak or understand Latin as fluently as he. And because the majority of the Englanders, where this church now has so much influence, spoke English, he said that their Bible then should be in the language that the people whom they were preaching to would understand. Plus, he said preachers would do better at preaching the Bible if they had a Bible they could understand. And so Tyndale went about to create and make it legal to produce the Bible in English. Now, the reason it wasn't legal was because the Roman Church stepped in when they got word of what Tyndale was doing, because of course, all faithful to the church at that time, the Roman Church, would always ask permission to do what they were doing. They immediately opposed it and immediately said to him to cease and desist, and charged him as being a heretic, and then told him that he would be arrested and punished according to the law of the state as dictated by the church. And that's when he fled the country. Now, he went to a couple of places. He was one place, I think, almost 2 years, and he had just completed his first completion of the translation of the New Testament, or actually of the Bible. And the night that before they were going to start printing the next day, the printer was actually setting up his presses, and some folks hired by the Vatican showed up and burned the print shop down and confiscated part of the written translation, because he done everything in handwriting, and they got part of it. He got away just in time and fled to Belgium. It is in Belgium where he completed the translation a second time.
How did you do it?
Just push the headphone.
And then
2 minutes to go get the hot dogs.
So what?
You need us to go get some hot dogs?
Yeah.
I'll be right back.
Hello, Brother Otis. We can hear you.
How you doing?
All right. And so he now flees to Belgium, completes the translation a second time, and then he goes to print and starts smuggling the Bibles in. Now, can you kind of get the gist of how powerful the church saw this as an opposition when people are given privy to understand plainly what they have tried to keep secret all those years? And now imagine, the church started in the 4th century. I think it was 321, became legal around 341. But from 341, now we're all the way up to 1550, yeah, somewhere around there, 1550, 1580. And now you see 1,200 years, they've been keeping this farce up and only allowing the Latin translation of the Bible. Wycliffe got in trouble for writing out an English version, never got it to print. They're so upset with him, anyone who dares to take up his cause, they dig him from the grave and publicly burn his body. Then you have 150 years later, here comes Martin Luther, who influences Tyndale. Tyndale petitions the church. They oppose him and threaten to take his life. He has to flee to complete his project. And that says something very vehemently to me, how much they fear people knowing the truth. But Samuel, you got something to say?
Yeah, go ahead and mute his mic.
Oh, yeah.
If they got the pastrami, yeah.
And so you have that this is now very what should I say, clear that they have a fear of people knowing the truth. And so Tyndale now has suffered great opposition and also suffered what should I say, threat of his life. He's been in hiding 10 years. And then a traitor comes along and betrays him and turns him over to those of the state who are looking for him. But the church wanted so bad to keep this from happening, they hired people to come and burn down the printer when they were getting ready to do the first run. And he has to escape and complete his work again. And I mean, the point I'm making is, that says to me, these folks are serious. And that I just felt that we should really understand and know about the efforts of Tyndale and these martyrs for the cause. And look how many people have sacrificed and put their lives on the line, and many lost their lives for the sake of us having what we have now. And I just thought it would be good for us to learn that and understand and know that, because these gentlemen risked their lives, reputations, and on the issue of Martin Luther, some of his detractors and opposition claimed that, he didn't really come to understand this until 1518. Well, 1518 is when he really started his push to teach against the basic tenets of the Roman Church. But he had made these comments from the time he was when they sent him to the school of oh boy, the Brotherhood. Let me see. I got it. Hold on. I'm gonna give you the name of the school. The Brotherhood of the Common Life. Yeah. Now, this was an order, a monastic order, and their emphasis was on personal piety. Because watch this. A lot of the schools and institutions of higher learning were under the influence of the Catholic Church. Because guess what? It was also their recruiting arm. And they would recruit these great minds. But that backfired on them because a lot of these great minds, once they learned the truth, began to speak out. And especially when they got into positions where certain secrets of the church were exposed to them now that they were in certain positions. And it caused these men of the intellectual minds to say, okay, so y'all telling me, and I'm reading this, but you're telling me that, and you want me to go along with this, and then you want me to tell the people that this is true when I'm reading. No, I can't go along with that. That was kind of the attitude that they got. All right, anybody have any comments? I don't want to just keep talking. I got some more stuff, but I'm gonna let that go for a minute. Anybody have any comments? I muted you for a minute, Oz, because we can hear you in the background. You have to click and turn your. Let's see, maybe I can. No.
You got it. Nope.
There you go. All right. Anybody have any comments? How you doing, Bishop?
I'm doing great. I'm just sitting and listening at you.
Listening. All right. Anybody?
But I don't know. I'm trying to figure out where you're going with it. So until I know where you're going, I can't go.
You can't go. I'm just talking about the martyrs, about Martin Luther, John Wycliffe, and William Tyndale.
Okay.
Yeah. And the atrocity that Roman Catholicism perpetrated upon these individuals who simply wanted to give the people the truth. That's what we're talking about. How they oppose the truth so much, they are willing to kill people. Matter of fact, the first year I taught occultism in seminary, it was actually my last year because they didn't ask me back the next year. But I actually discovered that the Roman Church and the Masonics, the Roman Church paid Walter Martin, who is the author of Kingdom of the Cults. And he had Catholicism and the Masonics at the top of his list. The Catholic Church, and it was an interview, and I had it, but that computer's been long gone, but I had a video interview of some people asking him, why did he change, his list when he actually printed the book? The church paid him not to put them on the list. And the Masonics threatened to give him a necktie. They call it a bloody necktie, where they cut your throat and pull your tongue out and hang it at the bottom of your mouth. They threatened, the threat of if anyone revealed their secrets, he'd taken to the ocean and his throat is cut and his tongue is pulled out the bottom. That's called a bloody necktie. But he was threatened, and that's why he took those two off of his list. But anyway, anybody have any comments? Y'all quiet tonight. All right.
I'm out with a bunch of animals, so I can't talk much. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's right. You can talk. We don't care about the animals.
I'm gonna kill
That's Devin, y'all. Yeah, because I know she got something to say. Anyway. Samuel, any comments?
Oh, no. I'm just enjoying listening.
Oh, okay.
And of course, I'm trying to find that interview for you in the background for it.
Oh, okay.
So
anyway.
I'm not that far in depth. I'm not that knowledgeable concerning those two.
Okay. Oh, that's
comment
fine.
on something that I'm not aware of.
Yes, sir. Well, good. Then I'll just keep sharing. I just didn't want to just keep talking, in case somebody had any. So, the thing that too about Tyndale that I thought was very interesting was that there are no.
Out.
Here's somebody discovered all of the photos that they claim to have a portrait of Tyndale are false. He never posed for any photos, and no one drew his picture at the time of his torture and burning at the stake. So one of the things that says all of the pictures that they have presented of Tyndale are not actually depictions of who he really was or what he really looked like. I thought that was kind of interesting, because they're good with imagery, and they're gonna present the image that they want you to see of these people. But Tyndale actually could speak 7 different languages. Now, he did this purposely because he was so adamant about translating an accurate English translation of the Bible, that in addition to his native English and the fact that he had been taught Latin and was fluent, he felt like he needed to know Hebrew, Greek, Aramaic, and a few other languages, because certain scrolls were in these languages, but he wanted to learn them fluently, and so that he would be accurate in his translation of the Bible into English. 7 languages. Now, and although he spoke Latin and English quite fluently, he was quite proficient in ancient Hebrew and Greek, because most of your original translations of the Old Testament is in Hebrew, and the New Testament is in Greek, and some of it is in Aramaic. So being a priest and being very disciplined, and this is what he got from the school of the Brethren of the Common Life, to be very pious in your lifestyle and discipline. So he picked that up from them. And this experience he had in this thunderstorm, I believe, really moved him. And it was the catalyst that caused him to really concentrate on devoting his life to God and helping the people really understand God. Because remember, there's a struggle that one will have inwardly when they learn truth. And I can speak on this personal experience. There is such a struggle when you study and the truth that you encounter contradicts what you've been taught. That's a very difficult struggle to deal with. We are humans. We have something called a psyche and an ego and an id. And our ego and our id can sometimes conflict, because it is our knowledge and inward understanding, whereas our ego is our pride, and how we view ourselves. And it can be very difficult when you're struggling to justify something you've discovered doesn't agree with what you claim you believe. And that's a hard thing, and when people are taught something and this has become their culture and their lifestyle, and then you present to them a truth that contradicts that, you create an inward struggle in that person, because guess what? We don't want to admit we've been wrong all this time. It's hard, as much as, I supported all the stuff we did as a church, and, all of the Easter speeches, and Mother Hoyt, say Easter speech. We had a youth leader at Perry Temple Now, Mother Hoyt was still the youth leader in her 90s before they
Oh,
replaced
wow.
her. But every Easter, she'd have us lined up, and if somebody was struggling, say Easter speech. that was her line. And she would be serious, like she threatening you. And she sometimes had a little something in her hand. She gonna pop you, or threatening to pop you if you didn't say it. But all
Sound
those
like
years,
Sister Jones.
huh?
Sound like Sister Jones.
Yeah.
But they prepared us for public speaking.
Oh yeah, they got us ready. We sure could speak in public, But all of that, and then learning truth later, it does create an inward conflict and struggle in one. Because I know one of the struggles I had was, how do I come out to my fellow yokemen in the gospel and my past? I was a part of a lot of pastoral groups and on some ecumenical not platforms, but groups, and we did a lot of stuff together. And
Mama said, don't use them $10,000 words.
I'm sorry. Okay. All right, Barbara Jean. You sent me to school, made me learn them $10,000 words, and threatened me with a $20,000 butt whipping if I didn't learn them. So anyway, I'm talking about my mama now, y'all. But being on all of these panels and councils, that's what it was, some ecumenical councils, this councils of Bible people, and then, a lot of them, especially after I got my 2 doctorates, something about getting those degrees, people give you more credibility, when you get those credentials. Now, all of a sudden, stuff you've been saying for 20 years, they haven't been agreeing with. Now, all of a sudden, you have credibility with them because you have some credentials. Okay, yeah. So anyway, but being on all of these and being invited, I'm going to tell y'all something. Some of the toughest times was having to go to their Good Friday services, being one of the speakers. And a lot of time, I don't know why, but I was majority of the time, my invitations were to be the guy who wrapped everything up. Now y'all know I'm already, and then I got this boldness about me. I don't fear nothing, and I don't care if y'all don't invite me back or don't give me a good offering. I'm gonna tell you the truth. So I got in trouble a lot, and then I started taking the route of being more tactful, not just jumping out there with it, but kind of subtly. But I found something out. I think it hurt me more, and I felt more guilt and more of betraying the Lord when I tried to be subtle about what I was learning and the facts that I had discovered. And so eventually, they just stopped inviting me. Because the last few times, flat out told them, y'all 2 days late. And they looked
Now
at
I
me.
know why you're friends with my mama.
Huh?
Now I know why you're friends with my mama.
Oh, that's my partner there. We'll tell you in a minute. We ain't going along with that.
We're not sugarcoating nothing.
No, we don't sugarcoat nothing. She and I got along quite well. Yeah, in the Sunday school department. That's my partner there.
Yeah, but I spent many, many times in church doing like this when my mama was talking.
I bet you did.
I got to hide because she's not with me.
Yep.
Oh man.
Oh no, because mama gonna tell you how she feels. She ain't gonna bite her tongue. And so in having this boldness to speak the truth, I had to just finally come to the point where, you know what? It doesn't matter. First of all, I had a church. I was a pastor. My members came and heard me, and people were still inviting me to come preach. all over the country. So it wasn't like I didn't have anywhere, to go and tell my truth. And then there were some who were bold enough to have me even come and teach this to their congregations. And so, it didn't bother me anymore that the people who I thought I was in their circle real good started shunning me. And, I even had one, he would tell everybody how good a preacher and teacher I was, but never let me come and preach or teach at his church. I ain't figured that one out yet. But we'll leave that alone. But you know what? I understand how Tyndale, Martin, Calvin, I can understand Wycliffe, the feelings they had, because I'm telling you, it's a struggle when you have to share with people what they are against and not supporting. And it's, and you feel, I don't know about other people, but I personally feel for the souls of these individuals who reject the truth in their attempt to try to hold on to these traditions that have nothing to do with Christianity or salvation. However they want to put it or justify it, there's just some things, if I know that it's wrong, okay, if I know putting dogs against each other and dog fighting is wrong, then I can't go and support the people, or say if I have a facility rented to them for them to have their dog fights and say, hey, it's my business, I'm making money. All I do is rent facilities out. No, I think that there's a conflict there if I'm renting it out for a purpose, for something that I don't participate in or believe in, and believe and know it's absolutely wrong. I can't, and I was having a conversation earlier today with someone. I think a lot of times too, for the sake of, how should I put this? Making money or commerce, we sometimes get involved in businesses that we shouldn't. It's like, you say you believe the Bible, you a faithful, member of a church and blah, 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 but you own a liquor store. But you're always talking about God, and I thank God for blessing me. And that to me is a dichotomy. It's an opposition. I can't promote certain things. I can't promote certain behavior. That's one of the things I admired about my brother. Samuel had limo business. Sam didn't allow them to, I don't stock my limo with liquor. Y'all, hey man, well, we want to know, can you put, no, I don't do that. I don't allow that in my car. This car's not for that. My name of my company is Joyride, Jesus other than you. Jesus ain't drinking, so you ain't either.
Well, plus I was cheap.
Plus he was cheap. He ain't gonna buy all that liquor.
and you have a legal liability to go along with it as well. So it's
Exactly.
just, but yeah, it was wise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when we do these things and participate in them, it's just like, I had some controversy with some of my pastor friends about hosting Halloween functions with their children. If Halloween is the worship of the dead, and this is a holy day of Catholicism, folks don't know that. That's one of their things they promote, All Hallow Eve. And it's a day they honor the resurrection of the dead. How do we tell our children, we out there shouting and dancing, speaking in tongues, and we gonna promote them dressing up as ghosts and goblins and all this kind of stuff, and we promote it, and I just don't, I don't get it. It just doesn't.
Devin?
Huh?
I'm talking to Devin now.
Oh.
He's doing it again.
Oh no.
I'm a chocoholic.
Man, go to the store, go to Walgreens and buy you some chocolate. It's on sale during that season. Take advantage of the sale, get all the chocolate you want.
But it tastes so much better when it's free.
Yes, yes, especially after Easter sales, after Valentine's sale, after Halloween. All those are the special days, not the actual day.
All right, I'll buy y'all some chocolate and give
Thank
it to you.
This is
But
like Christmas.
I'm not
It's
having.
It's like Christmas after
Yeah.
Christmas sale.
I'm not having Easter egg hunts. Look, I can't tell y'all when the last time my family dredged me at Christmas time. I can't tell you when the last time I bought a Christmas gift. If I ain't mistaken, I believe the last time was either 87 or 88. I ain't bought that since. I'm not buying them. I'm sorry. Whoo! I know I'm messing up for everybody. But let me get back to my martyrs before they make me a martyr. Burn him at the
Brother's ready to
stake.
crucify you.
Huh?
So your brother's ready to crucify you.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, man. I'm going to have to learn how to make chocolate so I can
Hey, and as long as he don't mess with Disneyland, he'll be all right. Because that's when we gonna really, it's gonna really be on and popping in there.
That's someplace I still want to go. I've never been. Every time the family got to go, because I was the oldest, I'd always had to be the one to stay home and watch the house. And I could never go. Or by the time I got old enough and mama was taking the family, I had a job and I couldn't get off. I've never been to Disneyland. I'm 67. I told my grandson, because he's never been, a couple of years ago, I took him to one of my favorite places, which is Magic Mountain. And he and I spent the day there. We had a ball. On the day before the 4th of July, we went on the 3rd. It wasn't a big crowd, but there was a lot of people there, but we had a ball. Now, I love that kind of stuff. I used to go to Great America all the time, but never been to Disneyland.
How many times you done been down to LA? You haven't been to Disneyland?
Never been to Disneyland. I want to go to Disneyland and
Disney
Disney
all
World.
the time, and you never been there.
Now, I always go to Magic Mountain, Universal Studios. I don't even think I dropped somebody when I was driving limo. I drove somebody to Knott's Berry Farm, and I've actually dropped some people off at Disneyland, but I've never been. Matter of fact, I dropped them off at the Disneyland Hotel, and I picked them up from the airport, took them to Disneyland Hotel, and when they were returning back, I picked them up from the Disneyland Hotel and drove them back to Long Beach Airport. I've done that, but yeah. But anyway, so you can have some real struggles with the truth and people who are still holding to their traditions. And I understand that. And the other part is, he said, let every man be persuaded in his own mind. My thing is to teach the truth and allow the truth to cause a person to formulate their opinion and decisions of how they're going to proceed or move forward with the truth that they've learned. And as I said last week, the purpose of doing this is not so that we can go around bashing others who are involved in these kinds of things, but to be there and available to help and teach them the truth so that they can make a conscious decision. He said for us to come out from among them and be separate. I think that's a tough thing in today's world because of society's acclamation to social media. It's tough because we're so connected to people, even connected in the way that we have people who part of our family, and I have experienced this, and you show up, they indulge in things you don't do, or they know that you don't agree with, and you get there and find out certain things are going on, and you gracefully dismiss yourself and move on. And then, of course, then you get accused of being I don't know what the word is, anti-sociable or think you better than everybody else. But I had an experience though in my oldest son's house, and he defended me. He told him, well, my daddy don't, do that, and that he ain't like that. And no, he's not anti-sociable, probably the coolest guy you want to hang around. But if you're doing something that he doesn't participate in, he's not gonna waste his time and hang around. And I don't, I'm gonna move on. So that's just the way I am. Because sometimes, being in the position some of us are as ministers of the gospel, we have to be careful of how people perceive us in certain settings. Now, I heard a preacher, and he told a testimony about him getting up at 11 o'clock at night, and this is his story, not mine. He said the Holy Spirit told him to get his wife up and dressed, and for them to dress up and go to this nightclub to talk to some people. Now, he went, and they talked to some people, and there were a handful of people that they talked to that left, and an hour after they got back home, some people showed up and murdered a bunch of people at the nightclub. But that was his testimony. I would be hard pressed to get dressed and take my wife to a nightclub, and I'd have to really have some confirmation that God was telling me to go. But I'm just saying, and I wouldn't do this as, and then he said, but he wouldn't do this normally or as a regular event. Now, it just so happened a few of the people that he went to speak to that night, he had a word for them. And I think 3 or 4 of them are members of his church now. This been some years ago. But my point is, we don't just go to nightclubs and go to certain places and events, showing up, especially people knowing who we are and what we do, and act as though we're fitting in. Now, I may be at a family function where people are doing stuff I don't do, but I'm hanging with the part of the family that, we do what we do. Church folks hang out over here with the church folks, and I don't shun other people. I talk to them and conversate with them, but I'm just not going to just arbitrarily and voluntarily show up to places where I know, like if my nephews are having a birthday party and I know they're gonna be there, what they call blazing and drinking and all the stuff they're gonna be doing. Uncle not coming. Happy birthday, God bless you. Come to church Sunday. Let me pray some of this off for you. But anyway, being true to what we believe, and this is what these martyrs did. Wycliffe, Luther, Calvin, Martin Luther, Tyndale, and there's a list. These are just some key individuals who are really made an impact and started the whole Reformation movement. But look how long it took. Wycliffe was almost 200 years before Martin. Then Martin come along, and a few years later, his Tyndale, and then Calvin. And this is fighting a system that had been in place since 321 AD, and they're now in 1570, 1580, and now they're still fighting to come against the false teachings of this idolatry and idolatrous religious system. But thank God that they had the fortitude and the courage to stand up against this. All right, I'm done, y'all. Anybody have any comments?
I don't have any. Well, only comment, I saw this big old Coca-Cola bottle and said it was for Sam.
Well, you got that revelation right.
Yeah, well, no, it was posted by your sister on Facebook. She had a little bottle, a can, then this great big old bottle of Coca-Cola. I said, now he don't love Coke that much.
Yes, he does.
I'm known for a couple of things, Bishop. My mama would introduce me to everybody that she met when I was with her. This is the son that gave me 10 kids. That's number one. Everybody know I love Coca-Cola.
And
Sunflower seeds and chocolate. In
and
any combination.
And Peeps.
Right?
Well, Peeps, that was just something I made up. I eat them, but
Yeah.
that was just because it was easy.
I just sit up there. I said, no, he can't. No, he can't. He can't.
But the chocolate, oh yeah.
I love Coke too. So
As long as it's not, I don't like Heath bars though. I just don't like. That's about the only chocolate I don't like.
Okay.
I like Dr.
Rocky Road ice cream, yeah. Dryers.
I like Dr. Pepper.
All right now.
Dr. Pepper.
Give me some Dryers Rocky Road ice cream.
Uh-oh.
It's on and popping.
I
like mint chocolate chip. Yeah, yeah.
I like that too, but
yep.
Give me like tea ice cream and what's that one I like? Cold Stone ice cream. Those don't make me sick.
See, they like me too much. That's the only thing problem is.
They don't like you, Bishop?
They like me too much.
Oh, they like you too much.
Yeah, can't you tell?
Now, but it's my Aunt Ruby's fault, the Coca-Cola, I believe.
Oh yeah, she drank 6-pack of Coke every day. Every day.
I had a teacher who did something.
Nah.
Pepsi's, but not that much.
Yeah, she drank a whole 6-pack every day. Yeah, I'm not that bad. I might drink 1 or 2. But all right, you all. Thank you all for joining again tonight. If there are no other comments, we will be back on tomorrow morning. If you did not, they had the Zoom for, the PPP on Monday. Last night was the EIDL. If you want to find out about how to apply for the unemployment and you have it, they will have that Zoom call tonight at 7. Just go to my Facebook page and look at the flyer from a couple of days ago from Pastor Carthel Towns, and it'll have the number on there for you to join. I already have the unemployment and I'm filling out my PPP. Pastor Samuel filled out his, and within about 5 or 6 days, he had his money. The program is real. It works. Take advantage of it. If you're an independent contractor, a single-owned LLC, or a small business, fill out the form. It's very simple. Send the documents and don't go through the regular banks. Email me and I'll give you the list of the 4 banks that you want to. Oh, okay, Devin. That's cool. And that way you can I'll show you which 4 banks you want to use, because they'll put your applications right through. Well, now it's only 3 because one has gotten full now. They're not accepting applications anymore. But there's a young lady we know who, if we send it to her, she'll forward it right to them, because now they'll accept them only from their authorized brokers now. And she is one. And she's a member of Pastor Carthel's church. It's some church folks that know some stuff, and it's legitimate. All right.
I have a question.
Huh?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
When you go give that little workshop, will you guys be going over the computations concerning the 2483C Section A?
Uh-huh.
That's what I want to know. That's the only question I have, and I will send my information to the young lady that you're speaking about.
Okay. Well, it's real simple, because you want to make sure that you use your 2019 tax return gross amount. Don't use the net amount. Use the gross amount and let them calculate your grant on the gross amount, because up to $50,000 will be forgivable as long as you use it for the authorized business expenses. And this one is for the Paycheck Protection Program. So all you do is, you're a single proprietor, a sole proprietor, as long as you have a business account or an account that for business, you pay yourself a salary out of that account. And when you have to fill out the questionnaire for how did you expend the funds, it was for salary. They forgive it all up to $50,000. So,
that's after you get the money and stuff. But for me right now, what had confused me was the EIDL. I have a disaster loan, and I didn't know if that was what they were talking about. And I did get some understanding about it. It's the same, but when you add the amount, I don't know if they want me to add the amount of that particular loan to it.
Oh yeah, no. What I'll do is I'll get you in touch with Monique. She could tell you how to address that on that form so that it doesn't hinder you from qualifying or what the amount that they get.
Okay, that'll be great because I made an appointment with U.S. Bank for tomorrow at 4 o'clock.
Oh, and that's another thing. You don't use any other major banks. I'm gonna send you the list of the banks to use.
Well, I was looking for one United.
Well, no, you want Cabbage, Blue Vine, and two others. I had them written down.
Well, I'm talking about black-owned banks, so I was hoping that they was in that category.
Well, here's the thing: you want to use the 4 that's going to get that process through for you quickly. Sam put his in. Sam, what day did you put your application in?
March 11th.
March 11th. When did you get your money?
Yesterday.
Yesterday was what? March the 15th?
16.
5 days.
$162.
Huh?
$12,152.
No, he got $12,162.
Oh, okay. Well, well, you know me, I got a number of business, so I got to do that supplement. I got to do 7 C's off of 7, line 7, and see what happens.
Yeah, well, like I say, I'll get you Monique's information immediately, and you can contact her, and she'll walk you through it.
Yeah.
Okay.
If I'm correct, you can only use one of the businesses. I use the one where I made the
one
most
that's got
money.
the most revenue.
Yeah.
Well, it does ask that question: do you own and operate any other?
They don't follow up and ask any other questions. They just ask you that question. You say yes, but they don't ask you any additional questions.
No, but I got the form here. It tells you to provide the information. I don't remember if they said.
But it took me less than an hour to fill out all the paperwork.
Oh, it only took me 15 minutes.
Well, I'm saying, so I'm just saying, I'm just giving,
Yeah, and Monique will tell you exactly what you need to include and not, and she has access to submit it right away to Cabbage, and they'll process it.
So will I have that information from you by in the morning?
No, you're gonna have that in about 20 minutes.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, Otis, I used line 7 of my Schedule C.
Right.
That was it.
What I'm saying is, with the 4 business that I run, I was going to attach all Schedule C's and add up all line 7s and put on the actual form, but give the additional Schedule C's, as supporting documentation.
Okay, I'm not sure.
I don't think they're gonna take it that way.
Well, I don't know. I'm gonna talk to Monique.
Yeah.
All right.
I didn't include. I only included 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, I'll check with Monique and get that done. And I agree with you about the form. The 2483C is for the gross income. The net is just the regular 2483.
Right.
And so I'll put out of that one, period.
Right.
Yeah, but I will say that the lender, that I went through, Blue Vine, I used their own form, and they submitted the documents for me. So they just transferred information for you. So it's almost the same though as the form that SBA has, the information. But so you don't have to really worry so much about the form number.
Right. And as you said, they told us they did to stay away from U.S. Bank, Wells Fargo, Chase, all them. Just leave the major banks alone because they already have too many files. You want to use these other banks because they're going to get you right in. They have a direct pipeline to SBA, and this thing is done. Most of them say you'll have it within 14 days. Only took 5 days for Sam. So.
All right, that's good for me. I'll cancel my appointment with them as soon as I get off the phone with you all.
Yeah, and I'll get you the information from Monique. All right, y'all. Let's have a word of prayer before we close out.
I'm gonna be broadcasting tomorrow night from Antioch.
Oh, that's right. You preaching tomorrow at the men's conference.
Yeah, and so we come out of Antioch. We go online tomorrow out of Antioch at 7
All right.
o'clock.
All right. Father, thank you for blessing us this evening. We thank you for this time that we have shared. We ask you to bless us now. Continue to keep us and bless us in the midst of all of this pandemic and all the things we are dealing with. We thank you for being God and for looking out for your children. Bless this evening. Bless us to have a sweet rest and awaken again in the morning, ready for the new day. And we ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Man.
Amen.
All right, Otis, don't disconnect. I'm gonna call Cartel now and give you the information to contact.
Okay, and then I want to speak to you about other things as well.
Right. So stay on the line.
All
Don't
right.
forget to close out the YouTube here on the record.